when we were in the car and you pointed out that female, you were like, look at her tits.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, turned around. Oh, yeah, she's really hot as a whole.
Wow, you literally think women are just a whole. Did you hear that?
No,
She's
oh
really
my
hot
God.
as a whole. Oh, my. So basically what you're saying is that men are able to humble themselves down enough to look at just an individual body part and fall in love with that, whereas women are like, no, I need the whole package. Therefore, women are more fussy. They're saying, I need all of this to get turned on, whereas men are like, you know what? I see beauty in the small details. I am like a craftsman. I can see just, the essence of a woman, and each little part is just gorgeous, and I can fall in love with that.
Yeah.
So women objectify. Women require more. Glad we had this discussion. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. Ladies and Immy. Handy here, author of the best Tinder guide on the internet, and guy who's sitting in a room with 3 people, even though you can only see 2, and who had to record this podcast a second time because this person said the name of the other person who's in the room who wants to be anonymous. This is the Kill Your Inner Loser show. Let's effing go. Hi and hello.
Hello.
So, second time we've recorded this. You want to be anonymous because you work for NASA. I'm not supposed to say that.
Yeah, sorry.
And she actually helped orchestrate faking the moon landings. And so she has to be anonymous. I think that's the story.
100%.
Okay.
Definitely.
And so we've been seeing each other, the 3 of us. And there's a cute little story behind this, which I will let you tell. If you don't say her name again and then we have to restart the podcast, can you handle that? Okay, I trust you.
I would like to clarify that we were about 2 minutes in. You're making it sound as if we were recording 30 minutes of podcast and then restarted. So we actually met you a couple of years ago for the first time. We saw each other and then didn't again. And as I was saying before, we were at a different place. Like Andy and I were in a different place at the time. And
Mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, sexually.
All of the above. Because we had just moved interstate. We didn't really know anyone. We'd jumped straight into seeing girls and probably realized that we rushed into things a little bit.
To be clear, we were already seeing girls before that. It's more that at that point in time. Yeah, we'd moved to a new city, and I think I've said this to you. I think we needed to make friends before we got into dating. I think it was just the wanting things to be normal again. Because we moved for the lockdowns and things like that. We left our old city. And yeah, I think we rushed into things. So basically, we saw you one time, slept together one time, and then we're like, hey, we can't fucking do this. In a nicer way than that. And yeah, then we split for 2 years.
2 years. And then, let's call you B, showed up on my Hinge 2 years later. And we reached out. And because it was like, we had, I think it was a week before, we had the conversation that if things were different and we'd met you for the first time now, we would have liked to have kept seeing you. But different times sort of thing. But then you showed up, it was like, oh, the universe is giving a sign, we should reach out. And we're very glad we did.
Yes, I'm very glad you did as well.
Yeah, we had literally talked about you a week before. It was freaky. It was creepy. It was like you were stalking us or something. So we met up again. We went to this cool art museum. We had a romantic little date, and we sat in the park and we saw some little
weird birds,
creepy, weird birds. Sure, we had some sexual. What would you call it? Sex? Would you call it sexual relations?
Not on the first date.
On the second date?
Yeah.
On the third date? And the fourth?
Correct.
Yeah. So so here's the questions. Let's get past all this boring shit. So have you so first of all, why would you see us? Why would you see a couple? Was that something that was in your mind, or was it just the first time, I guess?
2 years ago?
Yeah.
I was probably just looking for an experience
2
years ago, and I was just in a mood and was like, couple, fun.
A couple mood.
And then
So the question maybe is were you hunting for a couple, or was it
No.
just okay?
it just popped up.
Yep.
And then you guys were in the whole BDSM side of things, and that interested me. So I was like, why not? Give it a go.
So that wasn't something that you had sought either, BDSM?
No.
It's just let's roll with it, baby.
Yes.
And I would guess that that's the case for a lot of people, though. I feel like most people just want to have a sexual experience, and then you get offered things and you're like, oh, that could be fun.
Yeah.
rather than like seeking it out. I feel like it's something you've got to like really, really want to like go and seek it out.
Yeah, I definitely wanted to experience it. It just wasn't something that I'd gone, oh yeah, let me actually go find it.
And I think from a guy's point, it applies to women too, but I think from a guy's point of view, I'm always sort of talking about the importance of honesty and being upfront. And so I'm saying this from our point of view. I'm saying if BDSM is something you want, or an open relationship, or whatever it is that you want, if you make that very clear on Tinder or in person when you're dating or whatever, you're more likely to get it, because someone like you will come along who's like, maybe I'll try that. And like, if we'd never asked, you would have never said yes.
Yeah.
The fact that we ask makes you go, well, I wasn't necessarily into that, but sure, like I'll try it because you offered. So yeah, that's why I talk about honesty and being upfront. Is there anything different about dating a couple versus if you're dating like me or if you're dating Imi? Individually.
Oh, well, I haven't dated lots of people anyway.
Okay, well then just go like, because at the moment, like most of your stuff has been like fairly casual and stuff, right?
Yeah, it's all been very casual. I'm finding this a lot more intimate. And
do you think that's because we're a couple?
I think
Or
so.
you think it's just us?
It could just be you guys. Who knows? But I like having the two different minds to deal with as well.
Mm-hmm. Which mind would you say is better? Don't answer that
I'm
question.
not answering that
Yeah,
question.
there you go.
Because they're both beautiful minds.
That's
So.
a cop-out answer. That's a bullshit answer. Yeah, I okay, that's a decent question. I do, because obviously we're just us. We've never dated a couple. No, no, yeah.
It's terrible. So
Tell your terrible experience.
when I'd first met you, I think we'd had like one threesome together at that point. And this is when I was still seeing other people. And so this couple came up on my Tinder, I believe. And I was like, oh, why not? I'll give it a shot. Like, she seems cute. He seems attractive enough. Mm-hmm. It was fucking awful. They were both quite young. And when I say quite young, they were like in their early 20s, I think. And I was 18 at the time. And I was like, well, they're older than me. They have a sense of what they're doing. They did not. They were fine and they were nice enough people, but that was clearly the very first time that they'd done that. They were probably, obviously, because meeting girls, that's something that we put in quite a bit of conscious effort to do. It definitely doesn't just happen.
Correct, yeah.
It's something that we need to consciously seek out. But I think that couple was maybe lucky at the time to come across me as somebody who was pretty assertive or like communicative and actually made the steps to meet up. Whereas like in our experience, like it does become quite, you have a lot of people flake on you before you actually meet up with someone. And so that's kind of how it worked out. I had met up with them and they were nice enough, but the sex was awful. Because it was more that the guy seemed like quite awkward or not into it. And at some point he just left the room and like didn't really say anything. He just like left for like 20 minutes and I was kind of just like hanging out with the girl, and then he like came back, and because he left fully dressed, like he put his clothes on, left, came back, and then we kind of just like awkwardly wrapped up without addressing it, and I just felt a bit like uncomfortable, and it was like, oh, were you like really not into me? Was this like not what you wanted? And yeah, so that was my experience, and I think I messaged you that night, and I was like, I like the sex that we have, and from that point never wanted to seek out another experience with a couple. Obviously, if I were to try and do that again in an alternate reality, would do things very differently, and I would definitely screen for people that seemed to know what they were doing or had done it before, and probably just do something similar to us, like we'll take the lead and I get to be the center of attention, that sort of thing. But yeah, at the time it was not good, and I would guess that that's actually what a lot of couples end up doing. Like I can't imagine, because I think most, like at least the couples that we see on Tinder or wherever else, they just kind of just seem to be that's like, oh, we're in love, we've been in a relationship for 5 years, and like we want to
open up the relationship.
We want to just like experiment and have a night of fun, and it's like, oh, it's probably, at a guess, I would imagine those don't turn out the best.
I wouldn't think so, because there's a lot like that goes on. Obviously, seeing someone like outside of the, do you know what I mean? Like a third person.
Yeah.
There's obviously your feelings, my feelings, yours as well. And I think we do I think we're pretty good at being mindful of like you and what you might want, and
Yeah.
especially you as someone who's coming to an established, like at this point, almost 5-year relationship. It's like, how do we make sure that you don't just feel like the other? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think for me, it's also making sure I respect both of your boundaries, or like knowing that there's boundaries.
Yeah, explain.
Well, more making sure I put up boundaries where you guys are the couple and you guys have been together for a while.
Do you feel yourself doing anything? Because that's interesting to me. I didn't know you were doing that. Do you feel yourself...
I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
But I know it's there. Like, I have to remind myself that that's the situation. Do you know what I mean?
But like, what? Give me an example.
I can't give you an example
You can't
right
eat
now.
my food from the fridge or something like what?
So I guess like I would ask the question, if maybe Andy and I were only casually dating, like say we'd only been together for a couple of months, and we like, yeah, if Andy and I were casual and we weren't in an established relationship,
Yeah.
but you'd still met us like as two people, if it was like, instead if I'd said like, oh, Andy is this guy that I know, would you like to try like experimenting with, versus like Andy is my boyfriend of multiple years, would you like, what would you think you would do differently if we weren't an established couple?
I probably wouldn't treat them as a couple.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I feel like my mindset is more, okay, these guys are a couple. I know it's not making sense. Jump in my brain for me.
It makes sense. I'm just curious if that actually results in any different actions. Because
right now it's not.
Yeah, I don't feel you doing anything different. I don't feel you're holding back or...
No. But it's just like, it's a thought there that it's just there.
Do you feel like that's intimidating, or do you feel like it's just more of like a conscious like thought?
It's just a conscious thought.
Okay.
It's not intimidating.
Because I could see people being very intimidated for sure. I would be if I was, a girl coming to a 5-year relationship. I'd be scared as hell. I'd be like, they know each other better than me. They know how to please each other better than me. They know what they're doing. I'm the other. I'm the one that's going to get discarded if any of them are either unhappy. Not discarded, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I do also think though that I think having had my experience with a couple who'd been together a little while but just didn't necessarily seem to know what they were doing when it came to threesomes.
Or what they wanted even.
Yeah. I would almost, like if I was in the position where I was seeking out a threesome with another man and woman, I think there's almost a reassurance that comes with them being together for a while.
Yeah.
There's almost this sense of they know what's going on, they can trust each other. It's not like they've been together for a couple of years and they're just going to experiment. Like they're pretty solid.
Yeah.
I'm not walking into like a bomb site, and there's I can see there being almost a safety there. I don't know. This is all just me hypothesizing how I would feel if circumstances were different.
Yeah, I think you guys being so open and honest makes it super easy to be dating a couple. Like,
what do you feel we were open and honest about? I mean, obviously we are open and honest. Like that's something I talk about all the time. But like any examples for anyone listening who's like, I want to do something similar to these guys?
You're very open with what you want with sex, or in terms of what you want dating wise, like what you're looking for.
Yeah, we talked about that before we even met, didn't we?
Yeah.
On Hinge, yeah.
Yeah, you asked what I was looking for and then told me what you guys were looking for, which I think is really important so that you're all on the same page.
What's your dating experience been like, just like normal dates on, Tinder or Hinge or whatever? Like, are people upfront about what they want, or do they just show up to a date and it's kind of, you have to guess almost?
It's a bit of a guessing game.
Yeah.
Sometimes you rock up and then you go back to their place and you have sex, but there's no conversation of, cool, do you want to have sex again? Do you want to hang out again? Is this a one-time thing? So you are just left guessing a lot of the time.
I think that's why, like, the number one thing I tell people, men and women, is like, as best you can, just ask. Just say, like, what do you want? Like, what are you looking for? Because, yeah, I think it defaults, it's going to default to sometimes just you don't see each other again because you both kind of wanted to, but you didn't actually ever have that conversation.
Yeah.
I mentioned this at the start of every single podcast I do where I say, the best Tinder guide on the internet, which, by the way, I don't think it's the best one on the internet. It's just a marketing thing. But, in there, I have this whole section on basically how to keep seeing someone if you want to keep seeing them, how to keep seeing a woman if you want to. And like the first thing I have on the list is actually tell her that you want to keep seeing her. And the number of guys I tell that to, and they're like, oh, wow, I didn't realize that after I have sex with her, it's worth sending her a text that night or the next day saying, hey, I had a lot of fun last night. That was really cool. You know, I'm looking forward to seeing you again. And they're like, whoa, that blew my brain. I didn't know that I could do that. I didn't know that I should do that. I thought that would be needy. And it's like, yes, if you don't talk about this stuff or say what you want, the person might assume you don't want it again.
And I can almost see it being a case in which you don't want to get rejected. Like, you don't want to ask the question to be like, oh, do you think we could see each other again, for them to be like, no.
Like, you're dumbass again.
Yeah, and I can see there being like a shame or embarrassment around that. And purely to avoid being rejected, if you never ask the question, then it's like, well, yep, that was the expectation, right? I didn't get rejected.
Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't lose, but you didn't win. The only way you're going to win is if you ask for what you want. Is there anything different about dating us in particular, so Andy and Imi, versus like other people you might have slept with? When I say dating, by the way, like use whatever words you want. Dating, sleeping with.
Different. Honestly, just because you guys are so open, it makes things so much easier. Much
There's a
easier.
reason I say be open all the time. Yeah. So go on. Okay. And ready, because I want a confirmation bias because I say this all the fucking time. Is the sex better because we're open and honest with you and we talk?
Yes.
Oh my fucking God. I say it in 100 different videos. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. Because
you're able to talk about what you want, what you don't want.
Yeah. And so you feel like you can just kind of let go and just go crazy and not have to worry that the other person might overstep your boundaries.
Yeah.
Or they might not listen to what you want.
Yeah.
Anything to add? As for what's different about you, because you're quite different too. We wrote a little list here. You're very open. Very open. Very open. You take a lot of action, actually. I've talked about this, and maybe we can do a follow-up podcast at some point.
Okay.
About your 365 project.
Yeah, it sounds good.
Yeah, there you go. See? You started a 365 project. I just randomly said to you, remember that night over text? I can't exactly remember what we said, but I said to you something like, oh, my friend Cam, so thank you, Cam. He'll probably listen to this. Cam has been nagging me to start a 365-day project to do something every day.
Yeah.
And I might do it. And then you kind of said, oh, that sounds fun. And then I basically said to you, do it, pussy. And then you were like, I'm going to do it then, pussy. I've started now. And then I was like, oh my God, I have to do it now. You said kind of words in that. You didn't say pussy.
Didn't say pussy. It started because I sent you a photo of the rock painting I did of Imi. And you're like, oh, 365 project.
Yep. I brought you into the call. Hey, it worked. What are you, like day 20 or something now?
I think today's day 19.
Okay, that's pretty good. Did you start ahead of me or did I start before you?
I started one day before you.
Okay. Yeah. So you took action. I randomly said to you in one conversation, I can't even remember this conversation, but I said something like, it's fun to give. We were talking about giving value to other people or something. And I said, something you can do is like give compliments to strangers. And you were like, okay, you came back like a week later and you're like, hey, I've given 10 compliments to strangers. So I've done that. And
yeah.
I was very impressed by that.
Thank you.
And how dare you, madam?
I will say that it's really nice when you keep us updated with the stuff that we like that you've done. Like it's really cool to see a message from you and you're like, oh, hey, like I've headed back to the gym or like I've started a 365 project or I talk to strangers. It's something that we really like about you is the fact that you're doing stuff and you share that.
Yeah.
And that's really nice because like in the past we have, and I think that's the direction that we're moving in. Like we want to be closer to the people that we see and actually like hear about their lives because in the past, like, and this was more a couple of years ago, like things were a lot more sexual and kind of kept at that. And I think that was also because we were establishing like how like Andy and I felt in the relationship and maybe I wasn't necessarily comfortable with the idea that we could also like emotionally connect with someone that we were seeing because there was insecurity there. But it's really nice just hearing about your life and you sharing with us and there's definitely more of a connectedness there. Whereas I think, it just makes us look forward to seeing you and hearing from you.
No, I like
you more.
I like sharing what I'm doing because I like to hear what other people are doing too. It just makes it easier when you do see each other next time because what's going on in each other's lives.
Especially in terms of like taking action. You're very accountable. You're very like self-oriented. You're very self-aware, and you're very, what's another self word? Self-improving. There you go.
Beautiful.
Yeah. It's nice to hear all your stuff. You've started going to the gym again as well. We said that. Yeah, it's cool. It's like, I've talked about this a lot in podcasts where I talk about, for guys, try and find women. It's not always super easy, but try and find women that are also into self-improvement or have some goals or want to be better people or are trying to be kinder to other people or trying to make themselves better, stuff like that. Because then it's like you can almost, I don't know if you'd use this word, but hold each other accountable, or maybe you'd say like motivate each other. It's like every time you meet up, it's like, oh, I've started going to the gym. Well, cool. I've complimented 5 strangers, and it's like exciting. You're building something. I think a lot of people look at casual sex as just sex and nothing else.
Yeah.
And they don't realize, or it's almost like they're afraid of catching feelings or something like that. So they're like, we can't build anything. We can't grow anything. This is just my penis goes inside your vagina, and then afterwards you fuck off, and then I fuck off, and then we meet each other a week later.
But I guess I had that mindset for a while.
Who put that rule in your head? Was that like your rule? Society. Hey, fuck you. I'll look outside. So no one knows why I look out there, but there's a window there. Fuck you, society. Why are you doing that? Yeah, I think it's almost like, I don't know if it's society. It's like an unspoken rule. Hey, it's like an assumption.
Yeah, definitely.
And I don't know where it comes from.
I would say the depiction of like casual sex, and especially things like online dating or Tinder rather, like hooking up, like that culture, I think it's portrayed in the worst light possible in very, like in TV and media. It's like comes over at like 11 p.m. and like they have sex, and then like they're immediately on their phones and like, oh, I've just ordered my Uber, like I'm late. Like I think that's how it gets portrayed in like a lot of drama and TV, and I think that's probably because I had a similar thing as well. It's probably where I picked it up from. It's like, oh no, it's this thing. It's like it's like sex, leave.
Yeah,
like it's very transactional.
My friend Timo would say it's very like glamorized to be like that, intentionally so, like on Netflix and TV shows and movies. They're like, oh, look how sexy this is. Like, you get laid and then you kind of hate yourself a little bit. And then like, he doesn't call you back and he's a fuckboy. Oh my God, how do I win the fuckboy over? Oh my God, like you're better than that, Danielle. Like, why do you keep seeing this guy? And it's almost like this drama glamorization because it's exciting. It looks exciting until you're in it like 5 times. The first couple of times it's exciting. The 5th time, you're like, this kind of fucking sucks. Like, if I wanted this, I could just masturbate. So I think it gets glamorized, and it usually takes guys a lot longer to realize. I think women get it a bit quicker, but I think guys often take a long time to realize, like, casual sex. And when I say casual sex, I literally mean like a booty call.
Yeah.
Like, you have sex and then you leave and you don't text each other and that's it. Like, that really isn't that appealing. But I think you have to do it a couple of times and realize, like, oh, shit, I could do this. I could still have this. And then I could just see the person again.
Yeah.
It's like the analogy that I use all the time is like a one-night stand is like going to a restaurant, having really amazing food, and then going, I'm never going to that restaurant again for the rest of my life. And it's like, but didn't you enjoy that? Like, don't you want to do it again? Don't you want that restaurant again? No, I'm going to go to a different restaurant. You also text us a lot. You take initiative, which is rarer than you think.
Take initiative.
Yeah. Like texting and saying, hey, when can I see you guys next? Can I see you guys next week? That's like pretty rare. Has that been rare in your experience? Obviously dating guys that I would expect to take more initiative.
Yes, I would normally kind of just sit back and be like, when are they going to text me? I don't know.
So why do you take initiative with us then?
I feel really comfortable around both of you, and I know that I'm not being judged.
Let's talk.
We're going to get a third microphone if this is going to happen. Do you, is there that sense of like if you don't trust the other person, there's that worry that like they're going to think I'm clingy or needy, or like, is that the thought?
Yeah, 100%. Like if they don't want to, it's like, oh, that's not good. Okay, that's fine.
So for any guys out there listening, and probably applies to women too, but any guys out there listening who are like, oh, man, I would love a girl that takes initiative and actually says, hey, I like you guys. Hey, I had fun with you guys. Because you're very affectionate as well. You're very honest and all of that kind of stuff. You wrote us a nice little Christmas letter, which we could have read out on. No. That's private. So a guy's listening and he's going, how do I find a girl that will take more initiative and do all that kind of stuff? What stuff would you say prompted that? Like, what did we do that helped you sort of feel less judged or feel more open or feel more comfortable?
I think just being open yourselves,
So going first.
going
Like
first,
taking that chance.
sharing what you want, and just you give off the presence of positivity, and you're not judging.
What specifically, I know the answer to this, but I'm asking the question so that we can hear it from you. What specifically did we do to make you feel like not judged? Do you know what I mean? Like, we're not going to judge you for anything. Was it something we said? Was it something we did?
I don't know how you know the answer to this. I don't know the answer to this.
Okay, well, think of it more like this. This is probably a better way of phrasing it. If some other guy is listening and he's like, oh, I really want to do that. I always phrase it like that. I think that's a really... So you're giving some guy advice of like how he could help you or some other girl open up a little bit more and feel more comfortable with that stuff and not feel so judged. Would it be something he could say? Would it be him going first and showing you that he's like open and sexual and all of that and he doesn't judge that?
Yeah. Be open. Show me what you want first, and then if it's something I'll want or someone else wants, then they'll be like, okay, yeah, that sounds good. But if not, you can be like, oh, actually, no.
And
it starts a conversation.
Yeah, and I think this is one of the questions that I get sometimes from, people that maybe haven't tried being super upfront and honest with dating and relationships and all that kind of stuff, is they'll say, but if I directly say what I want, won't people think less of me, or won't women be turned off by me, or won't they say that I'm too sexual, or won't they say that I'm bossy, or won't I say any of this stuff?
No.
Yeah, I know. But it's the fear that happens.
Yeah,
right? Because
I know.
I think, especially in dating, people do this thing, right, where they're really like coy about what they want, and they'll just kind of like hope that they get it.
Yep.
And I don't know where the fear comes from. I guess it's just a fear of rejection, a fear of someone saying, no, I don't want that. But the worst thing that happens is you hear a no and you go, oh, okay, that's not that bad. This person doesn't want what I want. Actually, that's a good thing, because I hope they go and find what they want. I wouldn't want them to be with me if they didn't want what I wanted.
But I think the thing is that like somebody saying no gets wrapped up in so many other stories of like, I'm not good enough. Like if I said the right thing, they would have wanted what I wanted.
Yeah.
Like they think I'm ugly, or they think I'm a loser, and that's why they don't want what I want, or they think I'm gross or disgusting for wanting that, or I'm needy or clingy or whatever it might be. I think a lot of this stuff gets wrapped up in, it's not just like, oh no, that's not what I'm looking for. It's like they think I'm wrong for wanting that. Yeah.
They think I'm bad or a loser or whatever. I did a podcast a while ago called "She's Not a rejection of your." What was it? She's not rejecting you. She's rejecting your offer.
Yeah.
And that's a good way to think about it in dating. Obviously, it applies to both genders. But if you go up to someone and say, "Hey, I would like to have casual sex with you. Would you like that?" and she goes, "No," people will take that as a rejection of them. Like, oh my God, she must think that I'm gross or a pervert or disgusting. And it's like, you offered her something and she said no. It's like saying, would you like a glass of water? And she says, no, thank you. You don't go, oh my God, she rejected me. She thinks that I can't provide water. She thinks I'm a loser who's waterless. I'm a little waterless freak. Like, it's like, no, she just rejected the glass. She said no to the water. So yeah, I think people take that stuff very personally. Anything else we want to add to that topic, ladies and ladies?
I was definitely in that mindset when the first time 2 years ago, when we had our one night and then got the message, you did nothing wrong, but we don't want to see you again. In my head, I'm like, I know they've said I've done nothing wrong, but, I've done something wrong.
Yeah, there was like no better way to say that. And we wrote it really nice.
You did it really well.
We wrote a nice text. We tried to be really nice. Like, I think even at the time, it wasn't fully clear to us why we didn't want to see you again. We knew why, but it was insecurity more than anything.
Yeah.
Insecurity and just not being in a good place. And so... yeah, I think we wrote a pretty nice text, but I think almost no matter how you phrase it, sometimes people will take it like that. And the way I phrase it like this, the way I say it like this is, be as kind as you possibly can to other people. And then whatever they do with what you have said to them is their business. It has nothing to do with you.
Definitely.
And I don't mean that as an excuse to just go like, oh, well, then I can be an asshole to everyone and that's their problem. It's like, be as kind as you possibly can and then don't be in their business. Like, you don't get to control their mind. We take stuff, you and I, and you'll be doing the same thing. We take stuff out of context all the time and misinterpret people, and that's our right to do as a human being who makes mistakes, you know what I mean? So you don't want to be in someone else's head going like, I hope this person takes the text exactly the way that I do it. And people do that sometimes where they're like, oh, I'm sending a breakup text, or I want to be honest with my parents, or I want to do this, but I don't want them to be mad at me. It's like, that's not your right for them not to be mad at you.
Yeah. I had a thought, now it's gone.
Welcome to podcasting, baby. Yeah. You got a thought in your head. This is why I write stuff down as I podcast.
Yeah.
So I won't forget.
No, it definitely depends on your mindset. That's what I was going to say. Wherever your mind is at that point in time, it just changes how you feel about something.
For sure.
And I'm glad that we didn't see each other again afterwards, because I think we're all in a better headspace now
I agree.
than we were back then.
Oh, I can I mean, I can't guarantee the future, but or the past, but I think if we would have just seen you a couple of times and then said goodbye anyway. I don't think we're at a point where we would have seen people more long term. We hadn't at that point.
No, and I think, as you said, things worked out well this way, and I think we've all grown a lot over the last couple of years. And it was actually really nice, like, talking to you on the first date when we met up again after a few years, and just hearing what you'd been up to. And you talked a little bit, I know we're going to get to this, but you talked a little bit about the things you'd worked on, and that was really nice to see. And it feels really nice now.
Yes, I agree.
You felt like a radically different person on that second date. Again, for context, it was 2 years later. You definitely felt like a completely different person. You really did. I said that to you on the first date. I was like, holy shit, like, you feel way different to the person we met. And we obviously are too.
Yes, you are.
All right. Have you told your friends about dating a couple? Yes, she has.
Yes, I have.
You told them lots of stuff, you saucy minx.
Yes.
You told them all the sex details. What else did she do? What did we say? What were we going to bring up? I was going to bring something up on here about her telling her friends, you telling your friends.
Story.
Which it was. I showed them all the story.
Okay. So, yeah, but I'll give context. You wrote a story about the sex we had. You told the story. We put some little pictures in there and everything. So that's on my website. You showed your friends that story.
Yes, I did. And
Saucy
they loved
little minx.
every second of it.
Saucy little minx. Yeah. That's another thing that people guys sometimes worry about. They're like, oh, like, could I tell my friends about, this girl that I slept with, or like, because so I have a forum, right? I have forums, and sometimes guys will do like a little write up of like, oh, I saw this girl, we went on a date, this happened and that happened, then we had sex, and this is what we did during sex, and blah blah blah, and they'll write all that, and they have almost this like fear or shame of like, what if she finds out? And it's like, just show her then. If you're really that worried, just say like, hey, I wrote this story about you. Is that okay? We had a friend, my friend, I won't say his name because I think he likes to be anonymous sometimes. But a girl that he was sawing wrote a little sex story about him. And she's like, she was really scared, like nervous to show him. And it was, hey, listen, it was a good first try. She had there was, hey, you know the point that I'm talking about. I'm not going to say it on the camera, but it was, it was a good story. It was just, I would change that one sentence. That made me crack the fuck up. And he laughed and he screenshotted and showed me you laughed too. There was one sentence that was funny. That's all you need to know.
Yeah, she used some creative analogies that were maybe too creative.
Yeah, we'll just say that. Anyway, and it was a great story. So, yeah, guys and girls writing up. I think that ties into, people have this almost like shame around sex, or this like nervousness, or this fear of like, and they treat the other person that they are with, and we used to do the same thing, treat the other person as if they're like the other.
Yeah.
The person that they're having sex with. They're like, this is the girl that I had sex with, and I'm going to tell my friends, but I hope she doesn't know that I'm telling my friends. It's like you're pushing her away and saying she's over there. And women do the same thing. So many women will go to their friends and talk about some guy, and it's like, but we can't talk about this. He can't know that we're talking about this. Like, they keep it secret.
I used to have that same thing. It's like, I didn't want you to know that I was ever going to talk about you to other people. Like, I would have never told you that, like, I talked to my friends about you or anything like that, because it was almost like I want to seem so cool that, like,
I don't even care. I don't tell my friends about you because I don't.
Yeah, it's like, it's not even a big deal. Like, it's not even worth telling my friends. Like, there was all of those feelings, and like, it obviously came from like such a place of insecurity.
Yeah. And fear.
Yeah, I find telling my friends about it makes me a better person with sex, because they can give me outside perspectives and like, be safe, or I'm not sure about that. Tell me more. And they're so supportive and encourage you to just keep doing what you want to do. And
yeah, I think it's that thing. I wrote it to you in the chat, in the Telegram chat that we have, where I said, you're the product of the people that you surround yourself by.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think especially with sex, like find some friends that are pretty open. We're talking about being open-minded in general.
Yeah.
People that are open-minded and will talk about sex and stuff like that. And then talk to your friends about this kind of stuff. And then more than anything, like talk to the person that you're sleeping with. People have so much shame around sex. I understand it. It's just because they haven't ever tried not having shame around it. But yeah.
Since the topic of friends has come up, this is something that you mentioned that you've improved quite a bit over the last couple of years. And when we asked you like what you'd been up to, you said that you'd put some focus into making sure that you're surrounded with like supportive, encouraging people that just kind of brought you up and didn't drag you down. How did you, I guess, find or select the people that you now call your friend group?
Well, yeah, I was living on college when I first moved out of home and needed to make some friends. And kind of just ended up in a friend group that I wasn't too keen on. But at the time I went, oh, okay, these are good people. This will be fun. It's awesome. Mm-hmm. And then they ended up not being the nicest people, gossiping a lot about each other within the group. And I didn't really like that because you're meant to all be friends. You're meant to be supporting each other, building each other up, not tearing each other down. Mm-hmm. And then COVID hit. And luckily for me, I had another girl studying nursing next to me, in the room next to me. And she was so bubbly and so positive all the time, and I loved it. And so I just reached out to her and was like, hey, it's my birthday. I've got leftover birthday cake. Do you want to hang out? She was like, yeah, of course. So we hit it off. She's so positive, such a lovely person. And then her friend group was the exact same. Mm-hmm. So I got in with those friends, and I would make the effort to hang out with the people that I actually liked and had the same mindset as. Yeah, it's been really good.
And that's a decent way to make good friends, is to basically find one. I say this all the time where I have a lot of male clients who haven't worked on who've like neglected having friends, which might sound like a weird thing, but like literally they have zero friends because they've just worked really hard on their career or something. And they'll say, how do I make a bunch of friends? And I'll say, you just have to make one friend and then say, can you introduce me to all the rest of your friends? Because usually if you find one good friend, as in one guy that would have your back or will push you with goals and stuff like that, they'll have other friends that they can introduce you to.
Yeah. I also had a friend all the way from high school. Mm-hmm. Best mates. And then we got to a point where he wasn't very good with helping people's mental health and kind of judged mental health because he didn't fully understand it. He's studying psychology, but that's okay. And we got to a point where he didn't understand my mental health enough to stay friends with me. And so best friend for 8 years, cut off just like that. That hurt, but at the end of the day, after some time, I went, actually, that's not the kind of person I want in my life.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. We had similar. You had similar in 2020 with all the COVID stuff. There are a couple of people that disagreed with you fundamentally on a couple of things, and they cut you out of your life. And then at some point, and one of my friends was the same shit. And at some point, like one guy in particular, he had told this guy that he was friends with that I was feeling very down about lockdowns and that I wasn't taking it very well and that I was very depressed with being stuck inside. And this friend of his said, well, Andy's being extremely selfish. Andy shouldn't be worried about his own depression right now and feeling suicidal. Like, what the fuck is that? There are people dying. Like, Andy's a piece of shit. And so a lot of people sort of showed their true colors with that. And ultimately, I think that's a beautiful thing, because then it's like, cool, like this person isn't going to have my back when I really need them to. I've learned that now rather than like in a crisis or something. So yeah, I think it's people show you how they will be in a crisis. I phrase it like that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about sex again. Would you date women?
Yes, I would date women.
Like actually date women, not have sex with women?
I would date women.
Okay, now watch this cool answer. Would you date women?
I don't think I would be in a relationship with a woman.
How does that make you feel?
That's fine. Everyone, each to their own.
So you would date a woman. Okay, would you be more dominant in the relationship? Would you be more submissive? Would it be more of like a...
I think it just depends on who the other woman is. Like in some situations,
So you're a switch. You would switch with her.
Depends who it is.
Yeah, well, pick someone. Just invent someone. It's some big
All right,
butch, like She wears a strap on 24/7. She's super dominant. She has tattoos.
But I like ideal situation. If you could pick the
Yeah.
girl that you were dating, what's she like?
I think we'd be pretty equal. I guess you'd say switch. But yeah, pretty equal, supportive of each other, and just build each other up. That's what I'd want in a girl.
Yeah, they build the shit out of each other. Just sit
Yeah.
there building each other up every day, all day. It's hot.
I would like to clarify on my previous question, my previous answer rather.
That you don't like women and you're a bad feminist.
Yeah.
Is that for whatever reason I find like
Women are icky. She's really sexist, isn't she? This is fucked. I love women, by the way, for the record. For the record, women are great. I would date women.
when it's us together, like Andy and I together, I find the idea of dating a girl as a couple like fine.
Yeah.
It's more the reason that this is gonna sound really lazy.
Doesn't matter.
But the reason why I don't necessarily see myself dating another woman is because I would feel like I have to make the moves a lot and I don't necessarily want to do that. Whereas I
Yeah.
feel like when it's in a couple and we're doing it together, that dynamic feels different. Because there was a point, and I think we may have talked about this a little bit, where I tried seeing girls without Andy for a little while. I didn't like it because it felt like I had to be the one that planned the date and where we were going and what time and when we were meeting and what day and are you free, and then I had to be the one that leaned in for a kiss and like had
Yeah.
to initiate everything, and that wasn't fun for me. But I think in this dynamic, it feels easier, and I think also because you put in a lot of effort as well to like you make it clear that you want to
Yeah.
see us, and it's not drawing blood out of a stone to see you. It's a lot easier.
Yeah, that's fair enough. That's not lazy. That it makes sense.
It's like that thing I show you sometimes on Wikipedia, because I love it. It's great. Like lesbian bed death, it's called. And you can just go look up lesbian bed death. And here you go. 35% of lesbian couples reported that they haven't had sex in 1 to 5 years, like at all. 6%, so 1 in 20, say they haven't had sex for more than 6 years.
Wow.
And we have that funny. So we dated a girl. We saw her a couple of times, and she had this. She was dating. She was in a relationship, like an open relationship with another woman, but both of them were waiting for the other one to make the move. But no, you roll your eyes. But so they had been together for a long time too, like 9 months or something, right? And they hadn't done more than kiss. They'd kissed twice, and they kept putting themselves in situations where they could have sex. Like they rented a hotel room at one point. And they would just not have sex because it's like, you have to go first. No, but you have to go first. But you have to go first. No, but actually you have to go first. And like neither one did anything. And that's an extreme example, obviously. Not every lesbian couple is like that. But that's kind of what you're pointing at. You're like, I would have to make the move and I don't know that I would do that. I could definitely see you getting into a situation where it was lesbian bed death. After like 5 years, I could see you going like, why do I always have to make the move?
And we'd be like really good friends and have a cat. But I don't think I would choose to put myself in that situation.
I think finding a female to date as a female can be challenging because you don't know if they're straight, if they're
just messing around and experimenting.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. But I feel once you know that they're interested in girls, it becomes easier to like make the moves, at least from my perspective. But yeah.
And I think like when you're in your early 20s as well, everyone's experimenting.
Yes.
And I think there's a difficulty in that because you don't necessarily know if someone's just like trying it out. Because didn't you say that happened to you where you were with a girl who was curious and wanted to try it out, and then after you'd been together,
she's was with a girl, a one night thing, making out. She came back to my room, had sex, and then she goes, "Yeah, it was lots of fun, but I'm definitely straight." I was like, "Cool."
Isn't that wonderful that you helped someone figure out that they're
like,
straight?
I'm glad.
Phrase it like that. Yep, you're a counselor. You're a facilitator of straightness.
Lovely.
She should do the thing, like what a lot of deeply religious and like religious zealots, where they say like you got to pray the gay away. We'll send her.
Yeah.
Although it won't work with gay guys. We'll pray the lesbian away.
Okay.
Would you? Okay, so here's the $1 million question. Ready? This is what I want to ask every single bisexual girl that I meet or every lesbian, right? I want to attend like a lesbian rally and just go up to like a clipboard and ask every single person this. So ready? Would you fuck yourself like a clone of you? Did you get turned on by yourself? Every guy listening wants to know this question.
I've gotten turned on looking at myself.
That's hot.
Yeah.
That's like self-lesbianism.
Would I, if I was a clone? Yes, I would.
Narcissist.
So I can see what I like from an outsider's perspective.
That's what you say.
That is what I say. I really, like, if I could clone myself, I would 100% have sex with me.
Yeah.
I also want to, it's on my bucket list to sleep with someone named Imogen. I don't know why.
I come across a lot of Imogens on Tinder.
It's a really common name.
Andy thinks it's stupid, but
I didn't say it's stupid. If it's important to you, it's not stupid. I said it's narcissistic, but I didn't say it's stupid.
it's not actually really important to me. I think it would just be amusing. And I would obviously have to actually like the person. I would just...
But then you'd be in the bedroom wanting to moan their name. You're just moaning Imi and
how do I
Imogen.
know
It's
who to
like,
talk to? Which one do I say? Imogen 1, Imogen 2.
It's not a practical bucket list thing, but the
Go
idea
for it.
amuses me.
So yeah, and you asked me the dumbest question this morning when I showed you some of the questions we were going to talk about. It's not dumb. There are no dumb questions. But you said, would you fuck yourself if there was a female version of you? And I was like, no, that's gay. You're like, but it's a female. It's like, but
What?
that's gay because it's me. It's me. You took me and then you...
Guys in the comments, would you fuck yourself if it was an
Guys in the comments, would you fuck me?
if it was an if it was an attractive female version of yourself, would you fuck yourself? There's going to be people that say yes.
There'll be people that when someone says, go fuck yourself, they're like, oh, I got a little shiver from that.
Would you fuck yourself if it was a male version of you?
Yeah. Well, like not in a relationship.
Yeah.
That would be cheating. But...
Okay, would you?
Yeah, I would. Maybe it's just a guy thing.
Bunch of narcissists over here. Let's talk about... We'll talk a little more about sex. Sex homework that we've given you. How's that been? I'm going to do a separate podcast on what I mean by sex homework, but basically like having fun with each other and giving each other little homework tasks and like, hey, go record this video or film this or do something like that. So how's that been? We're giving you some little homework tasks. We won't say what all of them are because some of them might be a little bit private.
Lots of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely enjoyed doing them, and it makes me think about you guys when I'm doing them,
Mm-hmm.
which is nice. It's just
Like
lots
a
of fun.
Pavlovian response. She'll see us and she'll just get horny.
You kind of feel connected, and it's fun to stay connected in that sexual way over text when you're not seeing each other a lot.
Yeah, because we're seeing each other about once a week, maybe once every two depends. Because you're like freaking 3 hours away.
It's not that far.
Okay, 1 hour away. Fine. By the way, I've offered you this, but like we'll happily go and see you sometimes. Like you know that.
Yeah. I'll just have to clean my room if that happens.
Sure. And with sex homework, again, I'm going to do a separate podcast on like sex homework and coming up with some fun tasks and how to make it fun. But it's fun for you. I think that's the main point. It's meant to be fun. Like, don't read the word homework and go like, oh, I have to like order this bitch around and make her do stuff. It's like, that doesn't sound very fun.
It's lots of fun.
Yeah. I think it's a good way as well. This is another thing that I've done sometimes where it's like you keep saying like you're open to anything, but when I say like, hey, write a sexual bucket list, some people do have stuff on their sexual bucket list, like stuff they want to try. That's a fun homework task as well, because you can kind of say like, what's on your bucket list? And then you can kind of like prepare some things or think about some things or text each other some things you're going to do next time you meet up. We already do that anyway. Like I tell you things we're going to do when we meet, so do you. And we kind of talk about it a little bit.
Yeah.
I feel like that's something fun. Is that something you had done in the past where like before you would see a guy or a girl, you would talk about what was going to happen almost like, and obviously not on the first date. Let's make that clear. I think if you talk too dirty on the first date, it can, make some people so nervous that they don't meet up. But after you've slept together, is that something you've done?
No, not really. Just wasn't something that ever popped up. You'd be like, let's hang out. Okay, let's hang out. Have sex. Cool. And then with one guy, it was like after sex, you would then bring up, so what do you like in bed?
Why'd you do it after?
No, I didn't bring it up.
Okay,
He brought it up.
okay.
I was like, well.
That's still a better time than not at all. I still respect that, right? Like, it can be nerve-wracking to think, especially as a guy, because usually as the guy, you're the one that brings this stuff up. And for a lot of guys, they're very nervous to talk about sex. And, you know, I encourage people to do it on the date or over Tinder or over text or something. But for a lot of guys, that's really scary. And they say, like, how can I even do that? And I usually just say, start with dating. Like, say, hey, what's your dating experience been like? Talk about that. And then kind of go like, have you tried anything fun in the bedroom? And you can kind of just segue into it. But yeah, I understand it can be nerve-wracking, and so I still respect this guy for doing it. That's fucking awesome.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, but my impression is that guys almost get worried that if they bring something up, it's going to turn a girl off.
That's
like,
a big fear for guys.
He's going to like lose his chance. So like, can't say anything like weird, but after we've had sex, maybe I can feel more comfortable. It's like, well, we had sex, so clearly like you like me enough to sleep with me. Maybe now I can talk about it.
Yeah.
And that's a same thing for women, right? Like I'm sure even now, you're fairly comfortable with this now, but you know, there is kind of that fear of like, what if I say something that they go, that's disgusting, like only sluts like that thing. Like, yeah,
definitely. I think I will write a bucket list, but I'll have to do it like in my own time so I can think about it.
And to be fair, like we've met people and slept with people that are into things that we're not into, but it's like, it's not a big deal. It's not like, oh my God, what's right? It's just like, that's like not a vibe. Like, it's not something that we're personally into, but like,
that's so fun.
If that's your thing, or if you're like not into knives, just can't get
knife play. Lots of girls are into knife play. Getting cut me like a freaking sausage, like a German bratwurst. Shout out to my German audience. You know, Germany is like my number 5 audience, like the 5th biggest country. Poland is pretty big up there too. Yeah, German. Or is German number 4? I can't remember.
India.
USA, UK, Australia, Canada, Germany. Germany's 5. India. I have so many Indian audience. Shout out to India. I've never had a single Indian client. Being bisexual, do you check out women in public the way men do? Yeah, you do, you little pervert. I know the answer to that question. Yeah.
Yes, I do.
Do you? Okay. And you? You are a virgin, freaking puritanical. No, you don't.
Not in a sexual way. I'm always like, she's pretty, but I can like, I'll notice like she has big tits or like she's got like really nice hips or something, but it's not like a sexual thing. My next thought isn't I want to fuck her. It's just like, she looks really good.
So
my next thought isn't that I want to fuck her either. Just want to make virgins. That clear.
But that is like the reason that I brought this up is because women's sexuality does seem to, and we've talked about this, does seem to like differ from men's. Men's is very like, I don't call it this, but like objectifying. It's like, look at those tits, those are great. Look at that smile, I want to fuck that mouth. Like it's very like, and you'll see the whole person, but like you can get very much turned on by like one part of a woman for a guy, whereas women don't seem to be like that. You can acknowledge that part is very sexy, or you can even get turned on by it, but you don't seem to do that by default. It's almost like a different mode in your brain that you have to go into, where I have to like tell you, hey, you know, you can like check out her tits, and then you're like, oh, actually those are very sexy. So you check out women, but you're not thinking like, do you have any sort of sexual thoughts about them when you're in public? Or like women, like maybe women you're friends with, or like that you've seen in high school, or like that you're around. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely have sexual thoughts about them.
Yeah.
But I want to point out, when we were in the car and you pointed out that female, you like, look at her tits. Mm-hmm. I was like, okay, turned around. Oh yeah, she's really hot as a whole.
Wow, you literally think women are just a whole. Did you hear that?
No,
she's really hot as a whole. Oh my.
I saw that joke coming as soon as you said that. I was like,
yeah, that's what she said. It's coming. Like, Jesus Christ. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to edit that into the start of the podcast. Continue talking, you two.
No.
Go ahead.
so when you were looking at her tits, it was more like, but as like in her entirety, she's hot rather than.
In her entirety, she was hot. And that's what I was focused on. I was like, oh yeah, she's really like gorgeous. She's hot. But Andy over here was like, oh, look at it. Look at her tits.
I did not say look at its tits. So
Look at
don't pull
her.
that shit on me. Yeah. Look at her tits. Yes, I did say that. And then you said, yeah, her tits are amazing. So
No, I didn't.
I did. So basically what you're saying is that men are able to humble themselves down enough to look at just an individual body part and fall in love with that, whereas women are like, no, I need the whole package. Therefore, women are more fussy. They're saying, I need all of this to get turned on, whereas men are like, you know what? I see beauty in the small details. I am like a craftsman. I can see just, the essence of a woman, and each little part is just gorgeous, and I can fall in love with that.
Yeah.
So women objectify. Women require more. Glad we had this discussion. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
End podcast.
End scene. So when dating, this is kind of similar to dating. Let's talk specifically about sleeping. When sleeping with a woman in the bedroom, do you prefer her to be submissive or dominant? If you have a preference, if you have to pick one.
With the woman, I quite like switching it up.
Okay.
So the last female I slept with, not you, we kind of just, she
Have you
started
guys
it.
slept together? That's
No,
fucked.
Never.
That's disgusting. Anyway, continue.
she started it and was like, all right, I want to do this now. And so started it, and then I went, well, I want to have my turn. And so you just kind of flip back and forth, which I like.
Do you find that, so you're saying you find that easier to do with a woman, I'm assuming?
Yeah.
Do you like to switch with guys?
I don't mind.
Yeah.
I think it just takes me a bit longer to be comfortable to do that. But with a female, it's like kind of straight away I can do that.
Is that coming from the other person? Like, do you feel like women are less likely to judge you if maybe you're not perfect with it? Or is it a feeling of like, I can just physically dominate a woman a little bit more?
Probably that.
And
Physically
like a
dominate
guy's
a little
like
bit
bigger
more.
and
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I think I've said this a million times. Like, usually speaking, if you think about most men and what they look like and most women and what they look like, it almost requires a bit of consent from the guy, a little bit of like going along with it as the guy if he's going to be submissive. Whereas I think with a woman, it's like you can just physically dominate her, and she's much more in tune with that submissive energy, I think, by default. So yeah. What about you?
In bed, it depends actually. So when we're together, like Auntie and I as a couple prefer submissive women, although I do really like the idea of being with a dominant girl. So if I was in a relationship with another girl, I would need her to be pretty dominant, like basically like a man. And it is actually a fantasy that I would like to play out, because I've never really been with like a proper dominant woman, like dominant. And I would like to try that, even if it is just a role play, because I can be very dominant, but it only like properly dominant, but it only comes out in role play. It's not really like a constant energy that comes out of me. So to answer the question, as a couple, submissive women, on my own, I would like to explore being with a dominant woman, but not on my own, because I'd prefer to do it with you.
All right, I will help you. We're going to dominate the shit out of her. We did it the other week, remember?
Yeah.
Wasn't crazy dominant. As for me, I like both. I usually prefer submissive women, but I like being submissive sometimes. We like to play around with that. That's good fun. I had to teach you how to be dominant. So the dominant has to teach the submissive how to be dominant. Mental health, you mentioned that before. Here's what I'd say. Okay, so give your let's do this in two parts. What are your top 3 philosophies right now, I guess, for life? Like top 3 helpful statements.
Helpful statements.
Like for someone else that maybe is, feeling a bit depressed, or maybe they're not happy with their life, or they could use a little pick-me-up.
For me, recently, I've been using your thoughts are just thoughts. You are not your thoughts, which honestly, it just kind of, when you think about it, it changes how you end up taking in your thoughts. Because
you don't have to believe them.
Yeah, because it's just a story in your head. It's not a real, well, it can be real. It can be a real problem that you're thinking about, but it's still just a story in your head that you're being told. My second one would be you're in control of your body. So if you say you're not in the mood to do something, like you're in bed, oh, I'm not in the mood to get up. Well, actually, you're in control of your body. Your thoughts aren't the ones controlling you. You can get up and make yourself move if that's something you need to do. So that's number 2. Number 3, be kind. Be kind. Just be kind to everyone. It makes life easier for you and for other people.
These are very good philosophies. These line up very similar. I know we talked about this the other week, like these philosophies. They line up very much with mine. Number 1 is something I talk about all the time, Like, you don't have to believe your thoughts. They're just stories. You don't have to buy into your limiting beliefs, especially that one. I love the second one. There's a book. Have I told you about the book Extreme Ownership?
You
The
haven't
one
mentioned
that's-
that one.
Okay, so it's written by this big Navy SEAL, big muscular giant dude called Jocko Willink, which even sounds like a Navy SEAL name, right? Like Jocko Willink. And he has a podcast, right? And it's on YouTube, and every video is in black and white. Like, and it's like very dark, like black and white. I don't know, because I guess that just looks more like alpha male. It works. It kind of works. Anyway. And in this book, Extreme Ownership, it's what you're talking about. He's like, you're not a victim. Like, just because you're feeling negative doesn't mean you can't, like, you don't have to sit there and be a victim to that. It's like, you're allowed to take ownership of that and get up and do something. So I love that. It's very stoic as well. I don't think you've read much. We haven't talked about like stoic philosophy, have we?
No.
It's what you're talking about. Stoicism is just like, it's a group of old like Roman, and there were some Greek dudes as well. And what you're talking about is exactly what they figured out, like a whole philosophy system of not believing your thoughts, and, you know, you're in control. Yeah. And I think it's best summarized by this. We suffer more in imagination than in reality. So stuff like that. What about you? Philosophies. Maybe just give one, and I'll give one.
I like reminding myself that everything will always be okay, or the universe is looking after me. And the idea that, like, even when I'm really stressed, like, this will pass, I find that that helps me a lot. And remembering, like, even if I die, that's fine. Like, because then I'm dead, and I believe that there's peace there. And so, like, the worst thing that could happen is that I'm in a peaceful place.
Yeah.
And on a smaller scale, like day to day, like all of the little stuff, like, it doesn't matter. Like, I'm being looked after. I always have people around me. Or, like, even if I was, like, I genuinely believe that if I was homeless, I would sit on the street for about like 30 minutes, and then someone would just, like,
oh, for sure,
the universe would look after me, and that, like, that would be provided, and nothing can really go truly terribly wrong.
Good. I like that one. That's a good one. That's very similar to mine. Mine might be something like, give yourself permission to suck, as in you don't have to be perfect. And then here's a bonus one. Never go to bed wearing makeup.
Never go to bed wearing makeup.
That's a good one, hey?
It is a good one.
You like that one. All right, favorite part of sex with a woman. So we're going from mental health and philosophies back to woman. Favorite part of sex with a woman. And then we might start wrapping up a little bit. Favorite part of sexual intercourse, coital relations with a woman.
Being very passionate with the women. I think that's my favorite part, is the passion that comes along with it.
Do you
like
feel you're more passionate than with a guy?
I think it's easier to be more passionate with a female than with a guy.
Because you have more dominant energy? I've noticed you're definitely more dominant with Imi.
Yeah.
Like, you can lean into it. Yeah, it's interesting.
How does being passionate play out for you? Like, what does that look like?
Passionate, affectionate, like, just showing that you care while you're having sex.
Okay, why don't you do that with a guy? Is there a feeling of like, I don't want to look needy, or is it a feeling of he just didn't go first?
No, I do it with a guy. You keep going, all right, best part with a female, best part with a guy. But for me, it's all kind of just...
Yeah.
I don't mind.
I'm asking the nerdy questions that people want to know about, like,
I know.
bisexual questions.
Females...
Okay, maybe something that's different with a woman than a guy. Obviously, they have a vagina and boobies, and they're soft.
Yes. I like female moans a lot.
Yeah.
That's very nice. And I find that females are normally better with their tongues.
Because I think women are much more gentle with their tongues.
And I was just going to say, something that I really like is the feeling of when a woman goes down on me, purely because it's just so, like, soft. And I find that teasing really turns me on. Whereas I like the way it feels when you go down on me, but it's obviously, like, a lot more rough, and your beard's a little bit scratchy, and it doesn't last very long because usually we start having sex pretty quickly. Because
I get horny. I can be gentle. I'm pretty gentle during sex, but, like, not during, like, eating you out. I just get turned on. Same with you. It's like I get too turned on. I'm like, fuck this. I need sex now. Like,
yeah.
One day I'll set myself a goal of, like, I'll just go down on you or you for, like, half an hour or something. I'll set some little stopwatch in my head, and I'll maybe I put my earpods in, listen to some music, and just relax. And, like, I'll keep my pants on so I don't get horny. Then I can definitely do it.
Yeah, good luck.
Good luck about that. So we mentioned this before. You've started a 365 project.
Yeah.
Talk about it on a future pod. How's that going?
Yeah, good. I'm loving it. I've pretty much started it because I want to be more creative and do more art again because I kind of fell out of the habit of doing it. And doing something every day has been amazing, and it gives me something to do as well.
Yeah.
Because I'm not currently studying. I'm waiting for my next job to start. It also gives me something to talk about with my friends, and we can do creative things together. I'm loving it.
Yeah, and I think it gives you sort of like a purpose, right? It's like every day you're waking up and doing something that's greater than you. And you said this to us, like you've had some friends and stuff that look forward to it now. They tell you that. Yeah, that's really nice.
Yes. They've said they really enjoy looking at them, and I've had a few sweet messages from people as well about it, which has been really nice. And I feel later on, if I'm having like a bad day where I don't want to get out of bed, like if my mental health isn't great one day and I'm like, nah, I'm not dealing with it, I will be able to go, oh, I do need to do this art thing today. Let me just get out of bed and do that. And then because I'm out of bed, okay, well, maybe I can go shower now as well. Then, yeah, I think it'll be good for that.
Yeah, that definitely helped me, especially like the podcast one I did where I did a podcast every day. That was during 2021.
2020.
Yeah. When I was not in a good place mentally. It's like bad luck. I was going to say I have to shut my mouth, but it's more like I have to shut my mouth and then open my mouth to talk about, stuff on the podcast. But you're doing something that other people rely on. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You have some responsibility to them. Even if all they're doing is looking at your art and going, oh, this is great. You know that they would be slightly disappointed, or they would notice if you didn't post one day. They would notice immediately. They'd be like, where the fuck is your thing from yesterday, you skanky bitch? Like, then you'd be like, whoa, don't talk to me like that. They're like, I talk to you however I want. You missed a day. And then you go, that's my prerogative. And then you get into this big fight and they hit you, and domestic violence is not okay. We've talked about this. I've told you it's not okay.
Well, I would be disappointed in myself.
If you got hit?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
If I gave into domestic violence tendencies.
So right now on air, is domestic violence okay? Yes or no? Like,
no.
No, it's not okay, right? Oddly silent on this issue, Emmy.
Yeah, are you hesitating?
Wow, oddly silent on the whole domestic violence thing. Are you for domestic violence? You think women deserve to get hit in the kitchen?
No.
Okay, so she thinks they deserve to get hit elsewhere. So we've done one fun BDSM nude artsy photo shoot. I guess you'd call it that. How was that?
Lots of fun. I really enjoyed it. I've got a few favourites out of them, which I like looking at. I showed some of them to my friends as well.
You kinky little saucy
Not all of them.
minx.
I was like, look, everything's showing. I might just show you the top half.
Saucy little minx.
But yeah, it was lots of fun, and like, it wasn't super serious because you can take the breaks in between and like have a quick makeout session. Yeah, lots of fun. Would definitely do something like that again.
Cool. That's on my website, by the way. I've said that before. So what are you currently working on other than the 365? You're reading some self-help books. You're reading some self-improvement stuff. Anything else? What's on the cards for you?
On the cards for me? Well, soon I'll be starting my next job.
Working, so you've quit NASA and you're going somewhere else?
Yeah. And I'll be putting a lot of energy into that and making sure I'm being the best I can within that role.
Without saying what it is, yeah, it's a job that definitely helps people. So I can see you loving that for sure. It's one of those jobs that's like, this job is literally for helping people.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that and like preparing for that as well. So that will be popping up very soon for me. Working on building up my strength again, like physical strength.
Hitting the gym. Yep.
Hitting the gym. And yeah, always self-development, just my mind, keeping my mind happy or acknowledging my thoughts so that I can function.
Are you writing thoughts down, or are you just kind of like taking them as they come? What are you doing? Is it noticing your thoughts?
Yeah, so noticing them. If I'm feeling anxiety is like a big one for me. When I'm feeling anxious, I'll be like, okay, I notice that I'm feeling anxious. And then I will move my body how I want to move my body and then be present in whatever task I'm doing, or like I'll see what's around me first and then repeat that. And then if I'm doing a task, focus on that task.
Yeah. And a big part of that, funnily enough, with anxiety, people will feel anxious and then they'll tell themselves stories and they'll have thoughts and feelings and all of this stuff about like, oh my God, I'm feeling anxious. That's bad. I shouldn't feel anxious. Like, how do I fix this? This is bad. Oh my God, I'm anxious. I'm anxious. And you're almost spending all of your energy fighting it. But what I'm hearing from you is you're saying, no, I just acknowledge like, yeah, I'm anxious.
Acknowledge it.
And then what am I going to do about it?
Learn to live with it.
Yeah.
Without it making you suffer.
Because I think people suffer, again, you suffer more in imagination than reality. I think you suffer from the idea of anxiety more than the actual anxiety.
Yeah.
And the idea of like, I shouldn't be feeling this. Oh my God, it started again. Oh my God, what if it never ends? What if it gets worse? What if I can't do anything? And it's like, just calm down and actually pay attention to what's happening. You're feeling anxious. What does it feel like in your body? Okay, there's some butterflies here. My mind is racing. Wow, look at all my thoughts. They're just going fucking crazy. My brain is crazy right now. Isn't that interesting? When you actually, like you're saying, notice it, you kind of like ground yourself and you realize like, oh, you kind of look around yourself, which is what you're saying you do. You look around yourself and you say, but everything else is okay. It's just my mind right now and the stories that I'm believing that's freaking out. So nothing's actually wrong. So maybe it's perfectly okay that I'm anxious right now.
Yeah.
Maybe it's fine to be a shitty, anxious human being. So.
Yeah. I also find it really helps with being present because I'm someone that gets distracted a lot with my mind or just not staying on task. And so that activity really makes me focus again and I can pay attention to what's going on in front of me.
And so just to clarify again, it's noticing your thoughts and then looking around you to like notice what's in the room. Like what are you doing?
Noticing your thoughts and not saying I'm feeling, go I'm noticing that I'm feeling.
Yeah.
And then connect with your body afterwards. So move your body how you want to move it. So just shake your arms out if you want to, roll your neck, whatever,
like that,
however you want to move your body. And then see what's around you. What can you see? What can you hear? And then repeat that 3 times. That's what I do. Repeat it 3 times. And then focus on a task that's like a good task for you. A towards move, not an away move. Towards your goals.
I like that. Yeah. Yeah. It's like, I call that acting with integrity. So like, you know, if you go and drink a bottle of whiskey, that's not really what you actually deep down want to do.
Yeah.
You didn't really ask yourself, what do I actually want? What are my goals? What kind of person do I want to be? Another question you can ask yourself is, when I look in the mirror into my own eyes, what am I going to be happy with that I did? Like, can I look myself in the eyes and say, I'm happy that I drank a bottle of whiskey? It's like, probably not. Can I say I'm happy that I then, even though I didn't want to, I sat down and did some art? Or I texted one of my friends. Yeah, I'd be really happy with myself. I could look myself in the eyes and go, yeah, that was difficult, but I did the thing that I actually want to do. So yeah, I really love that. I really love that. What you're basically doing, that's called grounding.
Yeah.
Like grounding yourself to your own body and then to what's around you. Because we get caught up in our own head and we're kind of off with the fairies of like our stories and shit. And you're basically pulling yourself down to reality and saying, reality's fine right now. Nothing's actually wrong.
Yes.
Anything to add? Okay. What are you doing right now to love yourself right now, or to be kind to yourself, or to focus on yourself, or to improve yourself? Maybe just 1 or 2 things.
Well, you mentioned this last week when he asked, what are you doing? What are your goals for this week?
Yep.
And I mentioned being more kind to myself. And you said, oh, have you tried doing the standing in front of a mirror and saying, I love you?
To yourself, yep.
To myself. So that's what I've been doing the past week.
How's that been going?
Good. The first time I did it, I kind of looked at myself and went, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? I tell so many of my, like, especially males, guys really struggle with this one, where I say, go stand in front of the mirror, look into your own eyes and say, I love you. And they're like, oh, bro, that's easy. And then they go and do it. And they're like, what the fuck? I can't do it. What the hell?
Yeah.
Isn't this gay? Am I going to, like, suck dicks if I do this? Like, all the thoughts come up. Or, like, I'm a piece of shit. So were there any thoughts that came up, or was it just, this is weird?
No, because before I did it, I went, oh, look, I love myself. It's fine. I'll be able to do it.
Should be easy. Piece of piss. This is easy. I can do this. Don't worry about it.
Looked at myself in the eyes and then went, I can't fucking say it.
That happens for a lot of people.
Are you kidding me?
They're like, why can't I say this thing? I thought I loved myself. I thought I liked being me. Yeah.
And like, I was looking in my eyes and I could talk about anything to myself, but then went, why can't I say I love you? And then eventually I did, and then I was like, okay. And then the next day I did it, and I was like, okay, it's fine. But it does make you feel good because you have to kind of focus your mind on yourself.
Yep.
It's like, okay, I love you. There's nothing wrong with loving yourself.
What I find is, and this is kind of the point of it for me, is that it brings stuff up, which is exactly why I say to do it. It's not just so you can make yourself feel good. That's almost like a side effect. But sometimes I would do it and I'll say it and then I'll go, son, you weren't very good to yourself today. There were some things you did that maybe weren't acting from that integrity. Like you didn't really want to do those things. Like why did you look at porn today? Why did you, drink caffeine? Like I'm going off caffeine, right? Why did you drink caffeine today? Like that wasn't very loving. I thought you didn't want to do that. So I find it like it keeps you accountable on stuff that you wouldn't actually, you tell yourself like, oh, I had a coffee today. That's fine. That's okay. But like when you actually have to say, I love you to yourself, you're like, oh, I don't think that was loving. I don't think what I did was kind. I don't think it was acting like you said in line with my goals and moving me forwards. Oh, how did you phrase it? You said, there was two different ways that you said it.
Towards moves and away moves.
So towards yourself or towards your goals?
Towards your goals. But if one of your goals is to love yourself, that's towards you. Yeah.
That's from one of your coaches says that as well. Like, is this in line with what I will be doing in the future?
Yeah. One of my coaches always says, like, act like your ideal version of yourself. And in any decision, if you're unsure what you should be doing, imagine what your higher self would be doing. Like that's the Imogen that I want to be. That's like the ultimate version of myself. What does she do? And do that.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, what would future you do? I ask my clients that same question. I say 5 years from now, how would you handle this situation? And they go, oh, well, I would do this. That would be easy. And then I go, well, then do that. And they're like, but I'm not that person yet. And it's like, yeah, but you will be one day. You just told me 5 years from now you will be that person. Skip that 5 years and just start doing it now. Why are you going to wait 5 years to start doing that? That sounds silly. Final question, a second last question, actually. What are you doing to give value to other people if you want to, by the way?
If I want to give value to other people?
Yeah.
Being kind to them, I feel gives people value. Like going out and giving people compliments.
For sure.
You don't know them, give them a compliment. Just being kind brings so much value to other people.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And to yourself. So that's my big one. Just be kind.
It's stupidly simple, right? It's like, in every moment you can, if you think about it like this, whatever goal that you're working on or whatever you were going to do as you go about during the day, even if you're just buying groceries or something, you're going to do that thing no matter what. You have two choices the way I see it. You can do it in a kind way where you give a little bit of value to the other person, maybe a smile, just being nice to them. Hey, I hope you have a good day. Hey, how's your day going? Like even just a freaking smile, even just being neutral. Or you can kind of do it in this sort of like grumpy way, or you're just like cold, or you don't do anything. And that's a choice we can make in every single moment. And sometimes, maybe you're having a bad day, you're believing some of your own negative thoughts and you don't feel like smiling and stuff. Fine. Like I'm not going to, it's not up to me. I'm not perfect either. But I feel like if you take that choice to give a little bit of value, or you would phrase it as like being kind, we're saying the same thing when we both say that.
Yeah.
If you take every single one of those moments, you just got to like add a bunch of stuff to the universe. You got to make a whole bunch of people feel better. That was your choice to do that. Like you created that. You're essentially, I say this all the time, we're almost like gods as we walk around. It's like we get to shape the universe that we live in to some small extent. And I think if you choose in every single moment to give a little bit, that stuff comes back. Oh my God. And this isn't just some like hippie way of saying it. It's like, no, think about it. If someone is nice to you, don't you want to have that person in your life more? Don't you want to give them stuff? Don't you want to go out of your way to give them something? So it's like, I say all the time, the universe is a mirror. As kind as you can be to other people, I don't think you're doing it for them. You're doing it for you. You're the one that walks around and they're going to leave. They're never going to come back in your life for a lot of them. So you do it kind of for yourself. So I really like that, being kind.
Yeah, because one of my favorite things is just walking down the street and giving someone a smile and going, good morning.
Yeah.
Because I know if someone did that to me, I'm like, oh yeah, good morning. It's good. Thanks for just saying that.
And that's what we mean. We're not saying you have to go out of your way and go give like $500 to homeless children or something every day. It's like just smile at someone.
Yeah.
Anything to add to that, kiddo? No. Any shout outs? Anyone, anything you'd like to shout out?
Me?
Yeah. Well, who else?
Who am I shouting out to?
Well, you don't have to. If there's no
shout out to my family, shout out to my friends.
You don't have to shout anything out. Shout out some product you're fond of.
Product I'm fond of.
Shout out to Facebook.
You can go follow my 365
Do you want to
project.
keep that anonymous, or would you like
I
to?
don't mind.
It's got your name on it then.
I know.
Then
I
why
told
did you ask me to edit your name
at the
out?
start, I'm okay.
Okay.
And then you were like, no.
Okay, fine. Do you want me to link to that?
Yeah, you can.
Okay. Go follow this young lady's. Well, can I just say your name now?
Oh, it's been anonymous. I love it.
Edit it out.
I can do it. It can be like suspense.
No, yeah, no. So we don't say it. They can. No one's going to give a shit what your name is. Anyway,
No.
I will leave a link to your 365. It's really cool. You've done a couple so far. Actually, why don't we just do this while we're talking really quickly? Really quickly. You guys like keep the dead air going, or I'll keep. Watch this. I'm going to keep the dead air going. Look at this. I'm still doing it, man. I'm just so amazing at like filling dead air, just like this. This is like really great. You guys are supposed to help me fill the dead air while I find. Okay, I'm gonna find your 365.
Yep.
And
do
there you
what?
go. I'll show it on the screen because I think it's cool.
I think it's really cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. All right, window capture. Amazing. I'm going to make it bigger. So I'll leave a link to this in the description if people want to check this out. But you've done a couple of cool things so far. Where's the cool one that I like? I don't remember we did this and I was like, what the fuck is this like cursed thing? You can't see anything that we're showing. Where's the good one? I like that one. That was pretty good. I know none of this is full screen because Instagram is really a dog shit app for trying to share photos.
Yeah.
Like, look at that. Yeah. Anyway, that's cool. The rock one was cool. That one's fucking dope. I like that. So you paint rocks. How does one paint a rock? That seems annoying to me.
It's lots of fun. You just
You
paint
must have to
it
have a
with
tiny
normal
little paintbrush.
paint.
Yeah.
And then I draw something on it and then I paint between the lines.
Look at that beautiful rock.
Is there a reason that you've been drawn to painting on rocks? Because before you even did this project, you mentioned to us that you liked.
Well, I thought it was because my mum was painting on rocks because she's really artistic and loves art and being creative. And I thought she was painting on rocks, but my sister said the other day that apparently I was the one that started it. So I must have just picked up a rock one day and went, oh, this would be cool to paint on.
Rock girl. Yeah,
Don't
I like
know.
it.
Look at this cool. So this one that's on the screen right now, I know you can't see it, but
Which one is it?
you used clay or paper mache. What did you use to cover you covered your body?
Oh, it's like plaster wrap. And so it's like you dip it in water and then it becomes soggy and you just wrap it around
That's
and
so cool.
mold it how you want to.
Look at this. That's cool. You're very creative with lots of these. You're doing different stuff every day. You're exploring different mediums, which I really like. Like sometimes like some of these are clay. This one here is obviously like painting on rocks. You've done like some actual paintings. Yeah, very cool. You did a really cool creative one here. So people are going to look at this and be like, man, this chick absolutely cannot draw. You drew these with your eyes closed, which is cool as shit to me.
Yeah, not
Yeah.
looking at the paper.
Yeah, and it's like, that looks cursed to me. You got the eyes and you kind of, it's like some gremlin stuff. I love that. So I love the creativity with all these. You're exploring a different medium every time, like sometimes collages, sometimes sketches. Yeah, it's really cool. So I'll leave a link in the description below to those. Appreciate you coming on. Now we are going to go and, what are we doing after this? Yeah, you both know what we're doing after this. Hey, don't say that on camera. That's rude.
Yeah.
So shout outs to your project. It's been fun having you on. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This is the end of the line. We got to end this podcast. What do these people need to do? Do you know? Do you know how I end my podcast?
Oh, I do. I've watched them. I can't remember.
Go out there and
Smash your goals.
Close.
close enough. That'll
Crush
do.
your goals.
There you go. Go out there and crush your goals.